So first,
Absolutely.
and I was
Let's dig it all up.
oh, no.
True.
You'll never guess.
So sidebar. Yes.
And also, I feel like I shouldn't have to remember everything.
I know.
Actually, I have to talk about this.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I'm Alicia.
And I'm Meredith.
And this is also podcast, a special edition, because Meredith and I watched the Vice TV special show called The Dark Side of Reality TV because they did an episode on Kid Nation, which we watched and loved and covered. And we've been actively trying to talk to someone from the show because all we have is questions. So this helped answer or like get us a few more confirmations. If anything, this TV special had me with more questions, but
agreed.
It helped understand certain things and like open the doors to other conversations, I think.
Because I think you and I watched it as pure entertainment, like put all the terribleness away.
As 30-year-olds, this was never done again.
Like, don't worry about child abuse. Let's just watch it for what it is because this happened years ago, you know? Like,
as two non-parents also who like don't have children they're responsible for, sometimes we think we don't even want to be around kids most of the time. So it's an interesting watch for us.
And like we were these kids' ages at this time. So then it was like also transporting us back to like, what if we were in this? Mm-hmm. But now I feel like I'm taking this as I'm split down the middle of the road because we get a lot in this special and also nothing at the same time. Like you mentioned, like
it
we have
was
so
a lot
many
of
more
nothing.
Questions.
I told Meredith, I was like, I don't know what we're going to talk about because truthfully there was very little that gave
I feel like the only thing it did for me is make me ask questions and ponder how I actually think about this show.
Agreed.
And then also want to ask those questions to all these people.
Yeah, and see if they almost like take offense if I think a different way than that. Like I'd love to debate it with someone on the show because maybe they have a different point of view. Like debating, if we come from opposite sides on this, debating it with you is like not as fun because neither of us experienced this or thought of the idea, truthfully.
Yeah, the idea was a very interesting. I've always thought this was a very interesting concept. And they kind of walked through that at the beginning of this episode. They kind of set the scene of, you know, reality TV at its, first iteration was very experimental and it hit a boom around like 2006 when this was recorded. And that every person in this landscape was just trying to make the next thing and just trying to like look for a cool, new, interesting story. And that's how Kid Nation kind of was formed, which makes valid sense, like how this kind of came to be.
I find reality TV so fascinating. And if I cared to do more research, I would. But I find it so interesting that like reality TV really kind of like this kind of stuff started with like the Real World, and MTV was just one day like, what if we grabbed a bunch of weirdos, threw them in a house and saw what happened? And it was like in the 90s. And that's when, race was a hot topic. I mean, it still is. These topics are all still hot and should be discussed. But like race was a hot topic, sexuality. It was during
But it had never been done, like discussed like that before where it's recorded.
Yeah, but it was like on TV. It was giving like, they put like the LGBTQIA plus community on the screens. And then you had a conservative person who didn't like that. And they were all living in a house together. And then from there, people were like, how can we make reality TV crazy? And someone was like, what if we did Real World, but in the desert with kids? Yes. And that's how we got this.
They're like, let's take it one step further. Like we've already done the adult conversation. Let's do the kids now.
Alicia and Meredith are too young to be watching The Real World in 2006. What could we do that they could watch? Kid Nation, obviously.
I think it's fascinating that this concept was groundbreaking, but I can see how it was, you know? I can see like, every conversation leading up to the cameras being turned on.
Name another show where it was like run by kids, like a reality show.
Oh, no, never.
Yeah, it was genius because not only were you capturing the children's views, but you were capturing like parents being like, what is this? Yeah. And do I agree with it? And do I hate it? And do I find it funny?
The parents couldn't really police it either.
I know.
Because we have, to compare this to like Dance Moms, where kids were a large feature of that show too. Yeah. The parents were still there to kind of police and monitor their children. Mm-hmm. This, I didn't realize like how, I mean, I knew the parents weren't near this set, but like how delusional these parents were going into it.
That was the funniest part of it. I want to interview someone's parent
I want
and be like,
to
what
like
was your
truly
thought?
interview them. Like, it's okay if you were like, hey, I didn't actually look that much into this. Like, that's what I
But
want to know.
that was 2006. Like
Yeah.
all this shit now is coming out about Nickelodeon and Disney and terrible producers. And like we just didn't think for some reason the 90s and the 2000s it was like if this guy wasn't in a white van trying to kidnap you, he probably wasn't a bad person or like
That's such a good
situations
point.
were safe. Like
We trusted everyone.
our parents were letting us go to friends' houses without meeting parents and like ride around on our bikes. Like, of course, parents would be like, yeah, go do this. Kids were working, kids were on set all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a different time, to be so truthfully honest. I think that's
Yeah.
why millennial parents are so like, don't even go outside. Like, don't be exposed to anything. Because we know.
I feel like we are cautiously optimistic now when it
Yeah.
comes to kids. Like, you still want to believe in the best in people and you still kind of like don't want to rob your children of childhood moments. But we see everything that has been done in the past. And it's like, all right, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. Or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
I also, if we're really just going to kind of get into it, I think in like 2006, the idea of becoming a star or famous was like way less available than it is now. So parents were like, yes, we'll do anything to have our kid have this opportunity. Whether it was for like the parent living a dream or the kid, it was like, we will do it, no questions asked. And now it's like, okay, I could be my own kid's manager because I run their TikTok account and I can make them famous and people are begging to work with my kid. And it's just
the avenues to get famous are like,
there's
it's
so
a
many
lot
famous
easier.
people. Yeah,
True.
back in the 90s, everyone knew all the celebrities because that's all you had.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I don't give a shit about half the famous people in the world because I don't know them.
True. Well, the casting of this, like I said, I find fascinating. We get throughout the entire episode, we get producers, like definitely a producer is being interviewed.
Her name's Emily, and she's so pro Kid Nation. It was awesome.
I really needed that point of view though.
do
So like I appreciate it because I'm like split down the middle. And then we get Anjay, DK, and Olivia and Olivia's dad as like the experience of it.
Can I just say they underused Olivia's dad? He sat around for forever and I was like, does he ever speak? And then he said maybe like 3 things and I was like, that's it?
His 3 things were like in this, a little bit in this casting call and then at the very end of like when they finally meet up again. But I wanted to know what it was like casting your kid on this show. Like we get producer Emily, you know, saying, you know, they kind of had to convince parents it would be safe, which I get that. Like you have no clue what the conditions are going to be. So you have to like build this world up in the parent's mind because this is the first season. Like you would do that with any show, whether it was Kid Nation or Dance Moms, you know?
Yeah, you don't really know what's going to come from it. Yeah, the casting was interesting because it reminded me of when I read Michael's AMA on Reddit, where he said they went to a music camp that he was at, and they specifically were like, we're looking for this like Pacific Northwestern chill hippie guy. And they were like, we got him, his name's Michael. And Michael's like, I don't even really want to be here. And they're like, you're perfect, you're casted. But it was like, was there a casting call? Did my parents not care enough about me becoming a star to cast me?
Yeah, like that's what I wanted to know from Olivia's dad is like how we know how they found Michael, but like how did you get your kids in on this? Some of the ones
like
that
Jimmy was also an actor, so he was pursuing something.
And those ones make sense. So like I don't and not that like you're asking for it if you go and apply for this show, but like if you're seeking out this opportunity and don't do enough research or don't ask the questions, I feel a little bit less bad for those parents like than Michael's parents who they probably showed up to his camp and said it'll be just like this, except there'll be cameras.
Just to play devil's advocate because we have to have some debate on this show about it. I don't necessarily feel bad for those parents that like sought it out and were like, whatever, because like just kind of because we didn't know the questions to ask in their defense. So I like don't feel bad, but that was again just like the time. And if you
Yeah.
have all these producers being like, no, 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 it's totally going to be safe. We're going to watch. Yeah, like send them all. It's equivalent to sending your kid to camp. That is exactly what it is.
I agree.
My number one question though is, was it worth your kid missing school?
Or how much were the kids paid outside of that 20K?
Ooh, ooh, were the kids paid?
They
Like, was
had to
Jimmy
be.
paid?
That's like, was it a flat
Because
fee?
he
Like,
sought it out, but he left early. Was there a you have to stay at least a week
yeah,
kind of thing?
was it like Big Brother rules where like the longer you make it, the more you make? Or was it like
Yeah,
Dancing with
yeah.
the Stars where it's a flat fee, just show up to day one?
The challenge also does flat fee, and then depending on if you make it halfway, they'll increase it.
Increase it?
So it
Yeah,
just,
like basically, what did you get out of this, or what did you think you were going to get out of this that made it worth it? I want to ask those parents and like the kids maybe, because some of them were old enough
yeah.
to have a say in them going.
I think Jimmy's parents were probably like exposure, whereas maybe Michael's parents were like good opportunity. We learned Anjay just thought this was like a leadership experience, but was Olivia like, ooh, money? Like, what were we doing?
Olivia's
What was
dad in
happening?
it did say like he thought it would be an opportunity for the kids to be around successful people. Like clearly they're
Successful other
taking,
kids?
yeah, top tier kids. And it would like get them outside of their like normal, I think Olivia's from Indianapolis, like
Mhm.
their normal circle and like the exposure of just an experience, not really making it big. But
I also get what the dad is thinking on that. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't have signed my kid up for this if they wanted to do it. If my kid was gung ho,
yeah,
yeah, you want to try this out? Sure. Again, the thing that would worry me the most is school, because 40 days of school is crazy. I guess it would be more like 30 days of school, but that's crazy to miss at their age. Greg never recovered.
yes and no, because like some of these kids, like the Anjis of the world, are geniuses, so like they'll be fine.
Yeah, it just seemed like a
But
lot.
like the Greg, I don't know how well Greg was doing in
Yeah,
school.
Greg never got his degree, I bet. No, Greg never made it. But like, it's also interesting that Olivia's dad thought she was gonna like rub shoulders with successful kids, and then there's
Yeah.
like Greg and Blaine
Oh
vandalizing on day
God.
one.
Oh my
I'm sure
God.
Blaine actually is like kind of successful and whatever, and he seemed nice. But like, you know what I mean?
Yes. No, I do. And what's wild is I think this is an interesting fact that they talked about too, is originally when the idea of the show had started, some parents were under the idea, or I don't know if production did or didn't tell them that it would be filmed in California. And then it
Oh
got
yeah,
switched to New Mexico afterwards, which to be honest, I understand that like labor laws are looser in New Mexico, but the
yeah,
town I feel like set was the reason you would move it. Like that set was
yeah.
perfect for this.
California is just also expensive, so I could
Yeah.
see them totally being like, actually, we're shipping your kids somewhere else. Which also begs the question, did they pack appropriately? Because if we're staying in LA, that's certainly different than the desert of New Mexico.
Yeah.
It snowed.
I remember. I just that's the thing is you sign your kid up for this. It sounds like a lot of them did not read those contracts because they were
No,
very long
and that's what I don't
contracts.
feel bad about. That's can we just skip to that the contracts that they
Go.
talked about? Okay, in the contract, it was this big long contract that CBS covered or crossed all their T's, dotted all their I's, whatever the saying
Yeah.
is. And the parents didn't read it, but they basically laid everything out there that was like, we are not responsible if this happens to your kid, if this happens to your kid, if this happens to your kid. Probably if your kid dies. We were confirmed CBS was not going to be responsible if anyone got pregnant or an
Which
STD, which is wild on a kids show, but you got to cover your bases as one of the largest production
I
companies.
kind of get it.
I get it. So
They're not saying they're like setting up those situations to happen. They're just making sure that if your kid chooses to do something, like let's take
it's like
out the like
insurance.
parent.
It's
Well,
insurance.
let's take out the like adult production doing something to a kid because like that's just gross and I don't even want to discuss it. But like let's say two kids hook up and like get pregnant, like two of
Greg,
the 15-year-olds.
Greg and that other girl that I was like, oh, that's his age.
That's
It was
that
confirmed that girl hooked up. I don't know what hooked up means, with a different
Yeah.
dude. So like,
But when you have 15, like 14,
yeah,
15-year-olds,
15 year
like
olds.
this isn't a bunch of 8-year-olds
Yeah,
that
little
are
Mallory's not, but everyone
no.
else is up for debate. I don't know. At 15,
Yeah.
I was, like I said, I was boy crazy. If I was on the show at 15, that is all that would go through my head. You wouldn't see me working unless there was a cute boy next to me. At 15,
I was kind of shocked to hear, I mean, how much backlash there was on the contract. It was 22 pages, they said, and it was leaked after everything was filmed, and I think while the show was airing.
well, that's the thing though. That's on the parents to then read that contract and know what.
Yeah,
Hire a lawyer if you don't understand it. Read it thoroughly. Both of you. It doesn't matter. I understand CBS covering all the bases. That's what they're
absolutely.
going to do. It is then the person that signs the contract's responsibility to read and know what you're getting into, which in that you could probably read that like, okay, New Mexico, they're going to film in New Mexico. Let me look up the New Mexico labor laws or ask somebody so I know what my kid's actually going to go through, right? Like the people really to blame are the parents. It's not
Yes.
CBS. They basically said, look, these are all the things that can go wrong, but we're not responsible if it happens.
Well, like they're responsible for keeping your kids safe, but you can't sue us. Like
Yeah.
I think the responsibility of like the crazy things that could happen, like
Mhm.
yeah, CBS does have responsibility to keep those kids safe, and I would say for the most part they did. Like did they make their lives rainbows and butterflies? No, but
No.
that's not the intent of the show. It never was.
Yeah, I agree. You have a responsibility to keep my kid alive and fed and like how I don't know, healthy in a way. But all the other shit, like if my kid chooses to act out and go like chasing coyotes at night,
Yeah.
how the fuck is CBS supposed to know about that? And I understand, I do think like there probably were ways to make the kids safer. And I
Yes.
definitely understand that. But I think then that's where the parents beforehand need to bring that up to CBS, or your kid's not going to be casted. And those are just the two options. And like,
That's the unfortunate situation we were
you
in
deal
at
with
that
it.
point. Yeah. Okay. The one thing I will be mad at the production company for is that bleach incident.
That was, it was crazy that Michael fully blamed these kids because I think this is production now.
I fully, wholeheartedly believe it was production. It
I
makes
know.
sense that they were sanitizing every single night the like high touch areas that had food. Thank God. That made me so happy to hear they were like cleaning the tables and the
I would
saloon.
have vomited. I know. But they didn't touch the dishes, which was still gross.
That was insane. That was insane. But to be honest, we needed it for the raw experience of like their actual like work life.
I know. It was just disgusting.
But so for anybody who didn't watch the episode, they
Which
came
don't,
and
but
cleaned. Yeah, it really wasn't worth it. They came and cleaned every night some of the areas, and one of those areas was the saloon. And they had this cleaning solution. It was basically like water with some bleach. I don't really know the ratios of like cleaning
yeah.
supplies, but it had bleach in it. But it was put in a bottle similar to what you would see and drink out of in the saloon. So DK goes into the saloon the next day and starts drinking a bottle. And this has happened in like my family friend group as a kid, except for with vodka. My parents had put vodka in a
Oh.
water bottle, and and a kid goes and starts drinking
God.
it and immediately like figures it out and just like spits it all out, obviously. So that's essentially what DK did too.
I, in a way, in the mind of production, was probably like, we can't have a Gynax Clorox
Yeah, but just
bottle
remove it.
sitting around, right? That's it though. Remove
Oh, I
the
wonder
bleach.
I wonder if they had the kids cleaning a little bit too, and so they
Oh.
like needed the kids to have access to some cleaning
Yeah, because the
supplies.
shot, you're not going to have the Clorox.
No,
But
no. That
remove
doesn't.
it and just give it to the kids before they clean. You're going to edit this show so thoroughly anyway. Just hand it to the kids and be like, start cleaning now.
And if we saw a Clorox bottle, would we really be up in arms? Like, this isn't
No.
real?
I'd be like, thank God they have bleach. This is disgusting. This
Yeah.
is so gross.
It definitely was production's fault, but it also wasn't like DK went and chugged straight bleach.
Yes. And I think he did immediately spit it out, right?
Yes, and saw it.
Okay.
Like there were medics on site, so like
The
he saw
funniest
someone.
part, I'm not trying to laugh, but DK has since he's a star on Chicago Fire. I said that in his wrap up that I did. He's a successful black queer actor. That being said, he in the interview said he smelled it and he was like, citrusy, and just started chugging it.
Oh my god.
Lemons.
I think this we learn that giving kids a full saloon of soda just leads to bad things. I'm gonna blame it on the saloon.
Oh, it was so
He was
good.
going in the morning to go chug a lemon soda, probably at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a decision in itself. I also would love to talk about um Divad. Was that her name? Yeah, Divad with the
Yes, getting
potatoes.
burned.
See, I think that is something covered in the contract because you know your kid is going on a show and they're
Yes.
probably gonna have to cook. So whatever can go wrong in a kitchen, just assume that's what's gonna happen on this show.
If there was like a grease fire and nobody in production stepped in,
That's
yes,
crazy.
I understand like being upset.
Oh, yeah, she's frying potatoes in the oil. I still to this day burn myself when I fry up
Same.
oil. It happens.
Guess
I'm
what?
not mad about it.
I bet she learned some life skills.
Yeah. Listen, I want to say this now. Am I sympathetic that there were kids who were obviously underwatched for a TV show from what they probably should have been in a day to day? Am I sympathetic that the parents didn't really know what was going on and production wants to make a show and that's their first, goal? It's not to cater to these kids. Yes, I am sympathetic to all of that because we are still having the conversation today where production is the bad guy and they use people and you don't get the true edit. I get it. Whatever. At the end of the day, production's job is not to watch your kid. It is to make a great show
Yeah.
and keep your kid alive. That's all they have to do. And so, yeah, do I feel a little bad that you had some trauma from this? Sure. But who do I really blame? The parents. I don't really care. I don't feel that bad though, because now you're getting opportunities to talk on Vice. Olivia wrote a whole fucking book about it. So there's your opportunity there. I don't know. Andre he's just rich and famous. But DK probably was like, look what I did here. Sign me up. Like they all got something from it.
I know.
They could have. And if you didn't,
a bunch of them got 20K out of it. Like, even if they didn't get paid, they probably did get paid for the actual show, and some of them got 20K on top of it.
If anything, you had something to talk about on TikTok while we were all in quarantine. So you're welcome for giving you a platform, I guess. I don't know.
You have a great 2 truths and a lie.
I'm sympathetic, but part of me is jealous that I wish I was on the show.
I am too. I will say, here are some things that I think production could have changed just in the creation of the show. Why the kids should have just slept on beds. I don't think they needed to sleep on the ground.
Was crazy. Yeah.
I do understand when the kids showed up and were like, what the fuck's going on here?
You know what they should have done? If you won the upper class, you got like nice beds. And then it goes all the way down to like if you got the lower class or the workers.
That's when you got the mat on the ground.
Yeah. And in between you could have like a cot with like a good mattress and a bad mattress.
Or like a good pillow and a bad,
Yeah, like a thin pillow.
I think the beds thing was crazy. But you know what? For the artisticness of this show, I actually kind of do appreciate that the kids were caught off guard.
I want you to be, when I watch reality TV, this is terrible. I want you to be at your most vulnerable because that's going to be the real you. We strip all of it away.
That's one thing. You can't blame this production of not giving us a real product.
And it's sold. I get it. This is obviously why child labor laws are different now. For sure.
I don't think a lot of them are different, but I think parents are more aware to ask the questions or there would be like some supervising, a little bit more supervising on these types of shows.
At the end of the day, if Olivia's kid wants to get into the industry, she's going to know the questions to ask.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, I'd love to talk about kind of what happened after the show.
Let's do it.
Jimmy was bullied for leaving early in his hometown. I felt
Oh,
so
I
bad.
totally understand him being like,
Oh,
I forgot Jimmy was on it.
yeah,
Because I
Jimmy was
forgot
there.
Jimmy was on the actual show.
Not
Um,
me. Love him.
I totally understand him being like, I don't want this to air at all.
At 8? Yeah, yeah, you're gonna get
Wait,
bullied by the 10-year-olds for sure.
and Jimmy said that a scene didn't air of him being dragged by a
A
rope around his
lasso.
neck.
I know. No wonder that kid wanted to go home.
I
I
understand
get
him.
it.
I already understood him sobbing so hard when I just thought he missed home. He was the youngest one there. There was a lot going on.
He almost died out there. See, that's when production should have been like, stop, pause, don't move.
They
It
never
caught his neck.
intervened,
That's crazy. That's a
which
boo on production.
makes sense. They never aired those types of scenes. So that's what I want to know. And that's what I need from the kids and the parents is like to tell me what these scenes that didn't air that are like horrendous. Because
Yeah.
I understand that, like, okay, the show itself was not a glamorous thing to live, and like it was hard, but that
Yeah.
wasn't the point of the show. But like, tell me these fucked up things that production didn't air.
So there's that. Who else? Who else did we talk to? Oh, um, Olivia got called out for bullying Anjay by her parents. Her own parents were
My
like,
God, good.
"We didn't raise you to be this person." And I was like,
I'm so happy.
God.
And she says she still gets comments online, and Ajay still has to come online and say stop bullying her back. And I'm
Here's
like,
the
wait,
thing.
that makes me really sad too.
That's sad. I think it's good her parents were like, "Excuse me, Missy. This
Uh.
you're not very nice here." To then, I kid you not, like 20 years later, go online and be like, Olivia should kill herself. What are you doing with your life, sir?
This
Get
show does
out.
live
Get
rent free in my
out.
brain, but not in my present world
Get
actions.
out. I would never in a million years DM Olivia and be like, you suck. I think you should die.
I
If
can't believe you
anything,
talked to Anjay like that 20 years ago.
if anything, Olivia, come on the show and I'll own that you're being a bitch. And I called it out on this show. I said she's kind of a bitch.
I think she would say absolutely. I did not treat
Yeah.
him right.
Her own parents agreed. So, but you can grow from who you are at, what was Olivia, 11 is not who you are at 30.
Dude, I feel the same way. And that's what worries me about like the internet being kind of like this forever thing.
That's
is
crazy.
People, listen, I think people should be held accountable. I feel the same way about like people's racist tweets. I think we should call them out. But you got to give people the space to do things differently too.
Yeah,
Like,
but like,
who are they today and what are they doing? Like, if Olivia was online bullying Anjay in this present day and age,
bully the hell
absolutely
out of
call her out
her.
for it. But like,
But they're friends. So that's crazy.
I love that she like reached out years later too, once like she could connect with him and was like, hey, I want to apologize for this.
Yeah, and he accepted the apology and now they're friends.
I like that. I like knowing how they became friends because
thank God, because that really was a blank spot for us. That was one of the only questions that was answered.
I had to assume something like that happened, that they reconnected and talked it through, and it wasn't that big of a deal because it was just a moment in time. But
yeah, but I like knowing Olivia reached, like I thought maybe it could have been like they ran into each other. There was some Kid Nation reunion that they ran into and she was like, hey, now that I'm trapped here, I'm gonna no, she reached out on her own. That's really nice.
I want a Kid Nation reunion now.
I want to host it.
Because we need to go to Bonanza City.
Listen.
Maybe CBS still has that plaque that they chose not to have, and we can put it in front of
the one that made me tear up.
Yeah.
No, I think truly get on the internet now. I think we could host a really good reunion, and I think to prove it, we could do it with Kid Nation. We could come up with hard-hitting questions, but also make you feel comfortable and fun. It could be so funny. We watch Bravo. We've seen a ton of really good and bad reunions.
I'm in. I also, what would you think about a reboot of this show?
No, I don't think it would happen.
Do you think there's any way that they could bring this back? I would happily watch a second season of this, whether it was filmed in 2007 or present day. Like, I kind of want a new version, maybe a little safer. Maybe we don't have kids like butchering chickens and sleeping on the ground.
That was crazy still. I don't know. I think we would probably have to let the kids go home at the end of the day to like a comfortable home, maybe.
To like a hotel or like truly to their home?
Either just some sort of like checkout for a little bit. I don't know if
That
we could
makes
have them
sense.
24/7. I think that
Well, like Love Island takes a day off.
yeah, but they're still first of all, they're adults. And second of all, they're not allowed to speak to each other on those days off. They are boys and girls are fully
Yeah, but
separated.
that's a dating show. Like, I don't really care if conversations happen off camera between all these kids. I think not 40 days, maybe 2 weeks,
I think it
two
depends.
and a half weeks.
I think if you did teenagers, you could probably make it happen. I think the 8-year-olds, that's crazy.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Basically, what would need to change about this for a second season or a reboot to happen, do you think?
I think you just need older kids. And I
Like
think
minimum like 12, you're thinking?
yeah,
Or
let's start at 12.
12 to like 16.
Yeah, I think that could work. I think there needs to be um I'm gonna say I think wherever you are, just to prevent the because if we're doing older kids, there's gonna be more hooking up or crushes. I think then we need surveillance cameras to
That's
really
so true.
watch.
To be honest, I kind of
Not for
want some
my own
romance.
benefit, for
No,
production to be
no.
like,
Yes, like
yo,
get away
stop.
from them. Yes.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
agree. I agree. I would
The
love
16-year-old boys
to
scare
see
me.
some romance, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes, I would have
I
loved
don't
to see
need them
some.
hooking up, but I
I
would
think
like to see some flirting.
that's my biggest qualm is if you're doing this, just get some of the boys and girls to have crushes on each other and let me see it. Don't let me see them kiss. Ew, they're children.
Yeah.
But let me see it like
The
two
flirting.
girls like, oh, I have a crush on Brad. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you do? And then Brad's like, I don't like her. And you're like, oh, Brad likes her friend. You know, like that's good drama.
Same.
Because we watched that. We watched that in One Tree Hill, The Summer I Turned Pretty. Like we're still watching that.
Yes.
That's a reality
Okay.
of that is fun.
I'm good.
Make
I'm
it
good
a
with
dating show.
12, maybe not. I'm good with 12 to 16-year-olds. I'm
12
good
to
with them
16.
sleeping in hotels at the end of the night and like
I would-
showering.
Like building a world, but being able to like exit
Check
from it.
out.
Yes, we need to let them have showers. We cannot let them smell or they'll never flirt.
Oh my God, their parents coming and I didn't like fully take in the parents' reactions
I
just
didn't
because
either.
we were just so consumed in the rest of the
Yeah.
show. But that's something that this episode of the Vice show gave me pause to think about is those parents showing up and running to their kids, seeing them so dirty and what the
Mallory
conditions
had
were.
dirt on her face. Her dad was like, we saw Mallory with dirt on her face. And I was like, gross.
I guess because we watched it and like binged it, it was so normalized to me in
They
that moment in time.
They got they got grosser as time went on. So we saw the
Yeah.
grossness like grow with them.
Ease into it, yeah.
So I think we forgot that their hair was matted because we didn't like Greg still had beans in his hair from that one competition, I bet.
Oh my
We
gosh.
just didn't think about it. We also couldn't smell them. I feel like the smell would be overwhelming. Considering we
Yeah.
also buried trash nearby.
Oh my God, yeah. And the fact that they only had so many clothes.
And I think it was getting washed, right? But like
Yeah, they
by
had
the
those
kids.
like yeah.
By the kids. I remember. I remember.
I
Listen,
actually that would have been the most jarring is showing up on set as a parent and seeing the conditions, and that would have made me tailspin and knowing that they've been here for 40 days. I would be like, I fucked up.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of parents had that. Again, I personally would watch this show again. I don't think it's going to get made that way. So yeah, I think you would probably need more access to parents, maybe like a once a day phone. Well, I liked that they couldn't talk to their parents though.
Me too. But
I
because
see.
they're those older kids, because it's like the 12 to 16 in this new version, I don't think that it's as scary that your kid's not talking to you. Because like I went to sleepaway camp
I went to
and
camp,
I didn't
yeah.
talk to my parents for a week. I mean, I would write them a letter home once.
Maybe junior high or middle school. How old are you at 6th grade? 12. Because that's when
Yeah.
I started going away to camp.
Yeah, because like 8th grade is like 13 years old.
Yeah. I mean, they got to opt out of, if they wanted to leave and go home, the producers never were
Yes.
like, no,
No.
don't do
The other
it.
kids are the one who like convinced them. And even DK
Yeah.
said like it did not take him much convincing to stay.
Yeah.
He
So
just
like,
like he wanted to like know that people cared about him, which I get that. I get that a lot. You think you're like so alone.
yeah, at 14, of course, you just need someone to be like, I love you. And you'd be like, okay,
I
I'm
wonder
better
if
now.
DK seeing like literally every person be like, stay is like, oh wait.
My favorite was when he said, I'm going to go. Everyone starts crying. I would have been like, wait, how much power do I have here? This is why I
maybe
would never be cast. I'm too terrible a person. I'd
maybe
be like,
that's what
wait,
sparked him being like, I can easily be on town council because I'm beloved.
manipulate your way up, babe. I support it.
I can't believe they didn't address the catcalling. They showed a little clip,
That
but they
was
didn't ask DK about the
crazy.
catcalling incident.
That was crazy. They showed the clip, the creepiest clip too, where they were like, hey, you're looking good in those shorts. Blah. Blah.
Yes, there were so many things I wanted the kids, the adults now, to be asked about their behavior and like what happened.
Yeah, like Greg should have had to publicly apologize for that. That was terrifying. As a
Yeah.
30-year-old, I was terrified. That was crazy. I don't know. I also have questions about the chicken. No one they brought it up.
I
Emily
have
was like, it was
heard.
their idea. And we were
Yes,
like,
and I
gung
have
ho.
heard that like an expert showed them how to
Oh,
cut it. So like they did have guidance. Greg did not just know
Greg the
that.
Butcher didn't, he lied? I
They
mean,
clearly crafted that story.
that makes more sense, if anything, because Greg has been in construction. He's been a plumber. He's been a butcher, apparently, and kid's 15. So
Clearly he's just seen it and an expert came in and showed them, which like I
they
appreciate.
showed
But
him a YouTube video and went,
why couldn't they just
"Good."
like let the expert show the kids on camera? Because we have the Native American tribe like come in and like give them advice on being
Yeah.
leaders. Like I don't think it's weird for an adult to be showcased outside of
Yeah.
Mr.
Like,
Bonanza.
you know what? Like a present could have been like, we'll either give you some already made chicken, or we'll have this expert show you. It could have been like, you know, the
Oh
saying
my
where it's like,
god.
if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach him to fish, he eats for, I don't fucking know.
Alicia, that should have been the instead of the microwave. That should have been it. It should have been
Yeah.
here's 100 pizzas, or
We
I
show
mean,
you
show you
how
how to
to,
butcher a chicken.
yeah, kill a chicken live. And he'll come with the knives. Well, we maybe shouldn't give these kids knives. But they had knives.
them. They had them.
Yeah, I feel we'll give you seasoning for the chicken or something like that. Or it's like, ooh,
Yeah,
you're just gonna have
I like
white
that a
boiled
lot.
chicken.
Oh,
He'll show you how to
God.
cook it.
Yeah,
Oh, from beginning to end. The circle
that's
of
what it
life.
is. Like a little homestead person who like knows what they're doing.
Yeah, shows you, maybe also shows you how to cook other things. So it could have been like,
because they've done that on Survivor, where like someone native to the land will come and show you, you know, what you can eat and
there you
what you
go.
can do. We just need a little homesteader.
Genius. I would watch that. I would have preferred to watch an adult show me all that than watch a kid butcher
Yeah.
3 chickens in a row.
And just thinking he knows how to do that.
That was and then defeather it. Ugh.
Oh my God.
Olivia was also kind of upset that, like, when everyone was looting, the producers
God.
told her to say something, and then she's like, and then they use that out of context. And I was like, no, you can't be mad about, of all the things.
That wasn't that bad,
wasn't
too.
bad.
This is what I appreciate. I think we now have an awareness that production does like stoke the fire and like say things behind the scenes to make some scenes happen. And to be honest, I loved that. I loved them looting the town. It made sense whether production did or didn't get involved.
Yeah, I loved them looting the town. It was absolutely hilarious. And I loved Olivia being like, everyone's crazy or whatever she said. That was funny. And she's like, I said it sarcastically. And I'm like, but it doesn't matter. You still said it. Here's the thing people need to understand about TV edits, as people who watch a lot of TV. Yeah, they're gonna create a story from all the footage you give them. But the footage you give them is the footage you give them. You are giving them something to work with.
I think Olivia's the one who said this, that they didn't, you know, reality TV was so new that you didn't realize that they were like slowly crafting a story.
Yeah.
And I do understand that. You as a kid, you're just living your life. So then seeing it back and being like, that's not how my experience was, that's definitely upsetting. And that's, I think, some
Yeah.
people's experiences with reality TV, but that's just like how the cookie crumbles a little bit.
Yeah. Half the fun of reality TV now is when you get a repeat cast and you fall in love with someone and then they do something bad and you're like, but is that real? And then you have to sit there and be
Yeah.
like, and you question and production. It's kind of fun. But
Yeah.
Olivia, I didn't think that was your worst moments. Don't let that one
No,
haunt you.
no, don't you worry. It was definitely the Anjay one.
Um, Also, DK said he still has his gold star.
Alicia, I
He
was
didn't cash
shocked
it
to hear that.
because Michael told us you could either keep the gold star or get a check.
Yeah, are you just sitting on this 20K gold star? If somebody is, I love that. Show me a picture and you
It's
present day with
smart
it.
because how do you take taxes out of a gold star?
I think it's like, I think you still have to pay taxes on something because you are given a value of something. They would just put a valuation on it.
So you just owe him a check?
You owe the government, yeah.
Oh, terrible.
Even if it's cash, like you still just have to send in a check.
God, I hate the government.
I know.
Either way.
What do you think?
Yeah.
This is something else I don't think I can defend is Olivia did say that there was a specific producer who would consistently try to get the kids to cry.
That's weird.
I don't think it's necessary.
They were crying enough on their own.
That's what I feel like.
That's weird. What are they doing to that's extra weird. What do you do to make a kid cry?
Yeah. And that
and they don't have anything to take away. They came out here with nothing.
It just I don't think it's worth it. And E apparently did a story on that producer and interviewed them, and the producer said that they regret nothing, which that interview was years ago. So maybe we weren't in the times where we actually cared about people's mental health.
Uh-huh.
Not to give that producer any credit, but I am curious when that did happen because I think maybe that producer would regret
I want to know what that producer did, because if he was just pulling their hair to make them cry, that's God. Weird. But what was he do? Hey, your parents hate you. What do you do to make these?
I know. What
cry?
were the tactics? And I wanted Olivia call that producer out.
Yeah, I'm already crying enough. You don't have to make me cry. The dishes are dirty, my guy. I'm sobbing over that.
Jimmy already got pulled by a lasso. He's already sobbing on his own.
I know. Someone took down Taylor's run for council poster. I'm sobbing my brains out. You don't have to make us cry.
No.
What a weird thing.
I know. And there weren't that many, those side interviews put in the show to make it worth, making them cry in those.
Yeah. I don't know. I really did like the show in the sense that I do think it was groundbreaking. It's who thought to do this with kids? That's crazy. Yeah. You get so many audiences. It's a thing parents and kids can watch together, which is always a win because that's always going to give you primetime spot. That's why Survivor, Amazing Race, Big Brother all sat at those, because it wasn't just Real World where they were hooking up and going to clubs. It was there was a game and we could sit with our parents once we're a certain age. But this, you could even bring in your 8-year-old and be we're going to watch 8-year-olds cook potatoes. It was amazing.
I'm not shocked that it got so much negative publicity
the minute
it came out. No. But something I did hear is that CBS rode the negative publicity wave and
always do it.
It was definitely the no bad press, all press is good press type of mentality. Yeah. And I think that's what hurt them actually more.
Really? Maybe because it was with kids.
Yeah, I don't think you needed to lean into the conditions. Yeah. And just be I don't know really what the response was, but
I would say usually Gossip Girl got really bad press and they really leaned into it, and that's what made the show a success. I mean, The Bachelor has been exposed to terrible things they do to contestants, and everyone keeps signing up for that show. So I
think it's the kids, the scripted show stuff, that's just because strict moms are mad, they're cussing in it, whereas seeing kids sleeping on the ground is a little bit more jarring.
Yeah, but I do think if they tried, I think if CBS was fuck it, let's do this, they totally could have gotten kids to sign up for season 2. And
I was ready, willing, and able.
Yeah, you watched it and you were next. I'm next in line.
This is a vivid memory of
Do you think your
watching this
parents would have
show.
let you go?
I should have asked them.
Because your
I
dad would have
wonder.
read that contract and probably been like, well,
That's true. I think my dad would have been a little freaked out by the full contract, but I think they would have let me go.
because how old were you? Like 10, 12?
This was the first season filmed in
So you were
2006.
watching in 2007.
So I think it came out fall
So you would have been
2006.
like
But either way, we
13,
were
12,
11
13. Oh, okay.
whenever it came out. And
Oh, okay.
then, yeah, I probably would have been 12 for the next season, which,
You could have convinced your parents. You could have been like, I don't care, mom and
yeah,
dad,
I was
let me
going to
in.
sleepaway camp at like third grade. So, like, my
Yeah, let
parents were like,
me.
get out of here.
I don't know if my parents would have let me go on.
The school thing, I think, is the biggest issue.
That's where my parents would have been like, no, sorry.
And I didn't have hopes and dreams to become like an actor. So if I did, I think they would
I
be
didn't
more
either.
interested.
I mean, my parents shut that down real quick. Again, I don't know if maybe they knew something I didn't at the time and they were like, you're not getting in this industry, or they knew I was talentless. I once asked my dad, because all my friends did musicals. This in the end is a blessing. But I was like, can I do a musical? And he's like, why? You can't sing. And I was like,
Oh my God.
he was right. But I was like, okay, what about a play? And he goes, you really can't act either. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
what are you talking about? And I just remember him being like, your face gives everything away. And I was like,
Oh
oh.
goodness.
So that I think my parents knew something I didn't. And I don't think my parents were gonna have the time to drive me to fucking auditions. They had 2 other
No,
kids
no,
and
absolutely not.
jobs. It wasn't their dream either. I feel like parents who are like, "Oh, I could have been famous. I'll have my kid be famous." It's like they're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, I think if like you lived in LA and it's just more accessible, it's a lot easier to do that. But we were in the Midwest too. Like,
Yeah, I also think it just wasn't as big or
yeah,
known. Like now my mom gets advertisements on Facebook for like Chicago Fire needs extras. And she's like, I'll send your brother because it's like funny. But
yeah.
like, how was my mom finding this out at the time? She
No.
barely knew how to work Yahoo. So
That's so true.
my
Google had
mom didn't
just come
even
out.
watch. She only watched The Amazing Race. I want that so clear. So network television was not for my parents.
Speaking of like The Amazing Race, because they did one
That was
with
good.
kids and like they did a family version.
The family version was so good.
I know. Do you think that they like CBS, because this I think aired on CBS, do you think that CBS ever thought maybe we should do a kids Survivor? Like, let's go even further in.
No, I think that would have been shut down even more.
Well, like before this aired and before the like backlash really
Maybe
happened.
they were like testing this.
I
to
bet
be
that
like,
they were conceptualizing it there for a
because this is
minute.
kind of a Survivor-esque
Yes.
thing. I don't know, because it's kind of it's right. It's like right in the middle of Survivor and Big Brother. If you want to be like so
Yes.
true because of the team
Like
aspect.
I bet the minute that this got picked up to like start production, other production companies like heard through the grapevine or through like other news
Like
that this
start
was
casting
happening
kids.
and are like, all right, how can we reinvent the kids?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. They should have. Maybe they also saw The Amazing Race went kind of well with families, and they were like,
I think that
take
came
it one step
after.
further. Oh, they're like, let's take it one step further. Let's take the parents out of it.
Because my family wanted to submit a video and it was all about who was going to do it. And my
Oh.
mom was legit like planning the team out with our extended family because she was like, I'm not going with your dad. He would be terrible. Like my sister was old enough that she could be helpful. My
Yeah.
aunt and then maybe my cousin, my guy cousin. That's what they were thinking.
You were being left behind.
I would not be helpful. I've always hated heights. They knew to never bring me along.
My dad always said when we would watch The Amazing Race, he'd be like, because I would be like, oh, I would never bungee jump or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I would have a hard time with that. And he goes, they're not going to let you die on CBS. So this is the safest bungee jump in your whole life.
Alicia,
Like,
every time,
honestly,
because you've said that before, I have really thought that through. Now I feel like I could do Amazing Race.
So I decided if I'm ever going to do something so out of my comfort zone, it's going to be on TV because you're going to get me dying so I can get my bucks.
Alicia?
Yeah, I'm going to.
No,
the internet.
I
will be
just
on
looked it
soon.
up.
Oh, what?
I just looked it up, and that aired September 2005 through December 2005. It came before Kid Nation. This Amazing Race family had to propel Kid Nation forward.
I bet they were like, let's do it. Let's take the kid or let's take the parents out.
That worked so well.
Let's see what happens. Stassi from Vanderpump Rules was on that. That was my first taste of her. And
Help
she
launch her
was
career.
so different because she would never do Amazing Race today.
No.
But yeah, that sparked a big debate in my house too. Because it was like, what do we do? Because I think at that time I would have been like young as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so my siblings were going to be useless.
Yeah, yeah. That's how my parents felt about me.
I love thinking about who I would run the Amazing Race with. It's one of my favorite games. Have you ever thought about
It's
it? Would you run it with me?
I just wouldn't run it at all, so I've never really fully thought about teams, but I know people like I would never do it with.
Well, you always got to think your parents first. I would love to
Oh
take my
God, no.
dad. He drives stick, which is
Oh.
necessary because they always have. I never understand the teams that go on there and are like, neither of us know how to drive stick. Every year, you know,
There's
you're going to
one.
Europe, but you're going to have to drive stick. So I would get my dad for that, but he doesn't speak any other languages. But my mom speaks Spanish, but she's also not running in the airport with me to get those
No.
tickets.
No.
She's a bad knee, so now I'm going to leave her behind. So my dad better pick up French or something. Would I take my sister? Sure, but she's gonna be lollygalling. I know it. She's just gonna be like, why do we have to plan anything? I'll do, but my sister would do all the scary shit. She
That's
wouldn't eat
helpful.
anything though, so I would be like, fuck. Whereas my
That's
brother would eat everything.
that's kind of I think if there was another season of Kid Nation too, they need to do like more chill
Activities.
contests. Yeah, like we don't need to be jumping in beans.
No, that was disgusting. I liked the president one. I thought that was
Me too.
funny. What else did they do that I remember? I don't remember
They
any
did the
of their
homestead
competition.
one where you had to like move the homestead from one side to the
That
other. I
was
didn't mind
fine. That
that.
was great.
They had the pie challenge where they had to order the
Oh,
communication.
that was smart. If it's educational, I think sure. The beans was not. I didn't mind when they were like chucking what was it, eggs and had to like catch them.
Oh
But
yeah,
that
and
didn't have
little
any educational if you're trying to get the kids in, have some educational value so that I can play too.
yes.
Because as an adult, I'm going to sit here and tell you, I don't know what president came before the first.
Well, because each week they would act like there was this big theme and everything would have to do with it, and then they're like catching eggs.
Yeah, but as a kid, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to be like, I'm going to guess what president's first, second, and third, because I'm fun.
I liked when kids like some of the complexes would be that some kids felt they were
New.
smarter than others,
Yeah,
and
that was
that would
fun.
cause tension.
Yeah, you just always should have an educational thing so that kids at home can play. Because I was
Yes.
also sitting here going, no, the telephone did not come after the television. Blaine or whoever that
Oh,
was,
Blaine was so
right?
bad at that. That's when town council was at its worst.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot they could have done different. Do I think it was absolute child abuse? No.
No.
Do I think
Same.
the parents are the number one? And if you have to blame someone, blame the parents first, blame the producer second.
Yeah.
But did I like the show? Yeah.
From what we know right now, I don't think there was as much chaos from producers to be like, I know we joked about the child abuse thing because it was just like whenever we recorded the
Yeah, they're sleeping
series.
on floors. That's not
Yeah.
great, but
No, but like nobody would do that to a child in like actual real life. Like,
yeah, it was
this is a show.
for entertainment value. This was amazing, and they should have 12 more seasons. Fuck the King. That's gonna get me canceled.
Give
But
me entertainment at any cost. Just kidding.
maybe just make
Put them in a
sure
bed.
the kids aren't gonna get like STDs or pregnant. Like maybe provide. See, but
Are you about to
now,
say contraceptives?
well, it's the age old debate. What works better, abstinence or just providing contraception? Because kids are gonna do it anyway.
Well, if we're doing our new
You might as
format
well
of 12 to 16, I do think you do need to provide some while still
provide.
putting in your contract. You're not responsible.
You're not responsible. And I think surveillance cameras for producers to maybe speak through the mic now and be like, hey,
Out of protection. Even
we're
for
not
like
sharing beds.
creepy adults.
No.
I'm going to just be honest. Like having kids around is a target for predators. So then you can also monitor if there was a creepy adult on set.
That's true. I think surveillance would be genius. You don't actually have to use any of it in the show. It's just to make
No,
sure there are extra like Big Brother eyes on these
just
kids.
security.
I also liked that they didn't talk about this in the thing, but Michael talked about it in his AMA that there was like a parents group that surrounded the town to make sure that like no animals or creepy predators were getting in.
Yes.
So like that's really good to
I feel
hear.
like the producers of this Vice documentary didn't want to showcase any of that stuff, which
Yeah,
was disappointing.
you know they didn't. You know it's the dark side of reality
I
TV.
know.
This show wasn't that you want to talk dark, let's go to America's Next Top Model. Don't Skid
That's the
Nation.
thing. That's the thing is this was not that groundbreaking of an episode of this dark side of reality TV as I thought it could be.
That I think that's it. Is there wasn't that much. I was like, get more in the parents. Let's see the dark side of what we didn't know in the
Yeah, because
2000s.
I think that that's like what could have been highlighted is
Yeah.
like we just didn't know where reality TV was, and so we opened a can of worms and just never knew what our kids could get into, and now we do, and so like let's educate people on that.
Yeah, there wasn't as like much psychological abuse to these kids as I thought.
Which good.
Yeah, which obviously should. But at the time, I was like, are they getting fed? Do we have?
Yeah.
Are we just eating?
But they
weird
confirmed
potatoes?
they also
Always had
confirmed one
lunch.
meal a day, one
Always
meal a
had
day.
lunch.
And like I get that you're probably upset they're not getting the most nutritious food,
Well,
but it's a show where they have to cook their own meals. Like it's 40 days.
I would also love to know how much the parents actually knew, because I feel like we didn't get enough of like, I knew they were going into the desert to live on their own, to cook their own meals, to do their
Yeah.
own laundry. Like, what are we told? Are we just told that like,
And I don't think the parents would be honest about what they were told.
which also is like, it was 2006. My parents didn't know half the shit that was going on
Same.
in the world, let alone in our household.
Yeah.
It's a weird, it was fun to watch, but it gave me nothing. I need to talk to the sources.
Me too. That's what I want.
I also want to know, like, because it seemed to mix, like Jimmy, Anjay, Olivia, DK. They seemed to mix in, like, okay, the show wasn't the best thing I've ever done, but it wasn't the worst.
Olivia was definitely on the further scale of like this was horrendous.
Yeah, but like DK was like, they didn't even have to convince me to stay. That
No.
way, you know? Jimmy was like, I left after a week, who cares? And Anjay's like, yeah, I was bullied by my now friend. So I want to ask them point blank, do you regret doing the show?
Yeah.
Why or why not? And go off. Let me hear it. Let me hear all your reasoning behind it.
Give me a 40-minute TED talk on do you regret it?
Do you regret doing the show? Yes
That's
or no?
what I want.
Because then what? DK can't say no because he probably got Chicago Fire because he started building his resume.
It was probably a snowball, yeah.
Right?
But that's what I want to know too. Like, did this actually help you? Because he was one of the kids that came on for entertainment reasons, and not everybody saw success. And so I wonder if people are a little bitter if they didn't find success.
Yeah, I have the question: did you regret it? Why or why not?
We want more,
and I want to
know. We will find out more.
Oh my God, anyone who is on Kid Nation, like, let me know. I will interview you. I have I have so many questions. I would give you all the time in the world. Let me know.
we just got more questions added to our list.
But yeah, so it was fine. I love One Season Wonders with my whole heart. This is what it brings up. Honestly, we should do more kid shows.
I feel like it. Maybe
we should judge more children.
I wonder if we can find more. If people know of any, always submit them. Whether they're kid shows or not, submit your one season shows because I don't know who knows of all the one season shows, you know?
The kid shows are almost more fun because they're like not acting out of like malice. They're just kids.
Yeah.
Whereas like when we watch, God, what's a show we've done?
Princess of Malibu was terrible. God, that was like forced.
They were just acting to get
NYC
famous.
Prep was kids. Like we loved that.
Was so fun. Bush Family Brood, that was a mix of kids and adults, if we're going to be honest. The twins that look the same person.
That are like 6 years apart.
You can't convince me they're not the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great show. I didn't say it at the beginning, but we do have a TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, and YouTube. All the links will be in our description. Feel free to follow our journey along. If you have anything you'd love to hear from us, let us
Yeah.
know. We'll do it.
Submit some
We're
requests.
not above judging children on the internet.
Never.
No,
Well,
our 200 fans, no, not even. Our parents don't care. And they're the only ones who probably listen. So
well, with that,
whatever.
thanks for joining. Bye.